Welcome, everyone. My name is Menla, and I appreciate you being here this morning. We had good weekend class with Lama Surya on I Can Teach Anyone to Meditate. So those of you who were there, thank you very much. And now you get to practice what you learned. So thank you for being here. I'd like to start with a couple of announcements. Awakening the Buddha Within. Whoop. We can go back one, Eddie. Thank you. Awakening the Buddha Within. We're all Buddhas by nature. Lama Surya is going to be sharing from this book, his bestseller from years ago. So I hope that you can join us. You can see at the bottom, www.zochen.org to sign up. And then very excited for the next one, which is our upcoming retreat in October at the beautiful Sarah Retreat Center. Eddie, if you could switch to that one. Thank you. October 22nd through 27th. So it's the first time in 4 years that we've gathered together, and I hope that you will be able to join us. So this morning, we are very fortunate to have one of Lama's senior students, Suzanne, leading us today in our practice. So settle in, and I will turn it over to you, Suzanne. Thank you very much for leading us. And thank you, Eddie, for being the tech person. So you can take that down and she'll get started.
So welcome, everybody. Lovely to see you, kind of populating my screen. So this is lovely. So for those of you who are new to me, I see a lot of familiar faces popping in, and also some new names and new faces. Perhaps you just joined Lama Surya the last couple of months in some of the more introductory sessions. So as Menla said, my name is Suzanne, and I'm one of Lama Surya's senior students. And I am delighted to be here, and I need to take myself off of the spotlight view because I want to see all of you. There we go. So now I get to see all your faces. So it's always a delight to have this opportunity to share my practice with you. So I routinely, usually about once a month, lead a meditation at my local public library, where I've been doing that for about 5 years. And it's interesting because it's a group somewhat like this one, in the sense that there are very experienced meditators in that group, some whom I had the joy to introduce to meditation, and then others who come very much for the first time at the public library because it's a drop-in session. And so I never know. And it's beautiful because it's both in person, which is nice post-COVID to be back with people in the same space practicing together. And then, but we do have a hybrid component. So I'm kind of used to seeing faces on the screen and trying to make that connection with you in this form. And I confess to them all the time that typically I have no idea what practice I might lead or what I might say until I make my journey from my workplace, because I work full-time and I walk from my workplace to the public library, and I arrive and find that beautiful, stepping on the earth, taking in the air, reconnecting with my body, moving through what is actually generally a nice walk from my workplace through a park-like area to the public library, and then finding sort of what needs to be shared in that moment. And that's really how I look at that. I'm sharing with you parts of my practice. I am not a Lama. I have been practicing a long time, and I rejoice, frankly, in these teachings because they are so valuable for setting the conditions for a really enriching 24/7 sort of way of moving through life. And as I was debating in my head briefly, because I did give what I would say today a little more thought than I typically do when I visit my regulars at the library, it's like, what would be most conducive and helpful for this collective group here who comes together on Sunday mornings? And I've been really enjoying the Sunday mornings with Lama for all the time he started this meditation town hall. And I fleetingly thought of those more formal topics. I've been taking in the teachings of Longchenpa, thanks to Lama Surya, and maybe I should pull some Longchenpa. And then I was thinking, well, maybe something else. And really what I want to do is just invite you. And if I remember, I'll try and leave some time at the end of our session today to really share with you what practice for me looks like and how it translates into really all of the other aspects of my life. Because here we are, we're just learning to be in that richness of the moment, just as it is. And so for me, here comes, oh, there goes a cat on the screen. Very cool. All right, my cat's downstairs. So for me, it's that dropping into the body, letting my weight settle. I've been meditating so long, sitting cross-legged and upright. I hit this position and I know my blood pressure is dropping. And the joy is arising. And it's that simple. It's that beautiful. And I take the simplicity of that practice and the wisdom that actually comes from that practice throughout my day. It allows this practice that we do, this just sitting and being. It allows us to hold a lot of the elements of life that seem in conflict, where every moment is absolutely precious. Every being is absolutely precious. And yet, there's this great emptiness and unimportance. And this much bigger view. And the practice allows us to hold those both. And so what that looks like in my world, and this is really why I think it's so beautiful, because it just takes that moment. I'm in my body. I'm here with you. A little bit of a flutter of the heart, because I don't normally connect with you like I do with my regulars. A little bit of, ooh, new. And the joy and that sense of, and it's right there in a moment. And you can create those moments throughout the day in ways which can absolutely enrich yourself and others And you don't need a fancy title. And you actually don't need that much practice. This is great. This nourishes the tank, fills it up, gives you a little practice in a safe setting. But this is there all the time for you to take everywhere and use everywhere, moment to moment. So here's what I think this practice looks like and why it is so beautiful and accessible and enriching. So I had someone come, very concrete examples, because I'm sure you have them in your place as well, whether you volunteer, work, family, these kind of examples, they exist in your life as well. And it's right there. So an employee walks into my office and I can see in a moment, something's wrong. Got that look. And if you've ever been a manager, you know, oh, this is not going to be good news. He sits down, hangdog, says, cooling tower on the top of the roof. We've got a problem. It's broken. We're going to lose air conditioning. We're not going to have it. I don't know for how long. Could be hard to replace the parts. And just looked like the world was going to come to an end. Sitting in my chair, embodied, seeing his suffering, because he's responsible for this equipment. And it's right there. Anyone die? No. Anyone's fault other than we don't have enough money to do the kind of maintenance we'd like to do? No. Said, got a plan for how you want to take care of it? Yep, working on that. Calls are made. Said, okay, I'll communicate that we need some patience and understanding in the workplace, and we'll update folks as we have more information. Go do your job. Thank you for letting me know. I'm sure you can work through this. Off he went. No drama, lots of compassion, easy to come up with the response that needed to be made. It's just, that's what practice does from my point of view for you, which is there's just these moments that hit, and maybe it's a family moment. Another example, same day, next day. In the beginning of my morning, I had someone in my office who had views, shall we say, that fall on the conservative spectrum. Sometimes very strong views, but a very good conversation, some things on which we agreed, some things on which we disagreed. All good. Being present, being open, just being, not needing to hold on to an agenda. And at the back end of that very same day, I had someone on the other side of the political spectrum. Some things on which we agreed, some things on which we disagreed. Humorously enough, both people agreed on one principle on which I said no. And it's just, both can be met. And this practice is so valuable to just arriving in the moment. And the heart so naturally opens when we arrive in that moment. And there it is, the ability to have really lovely conversations with two people, neither of whom got the answer they wanted from me. That's the nature of my job. And yet they were respectful. It was not difficult for me, just a conversation. So absolutely precious, trying to communicate with each, and in some ways insubstantial. These come and these go. People come and people go. Opinions come and opinions go. And so I so often really encourage folks to look for those opportunities outside of these times of being together. I think these times of being together and practicing together are very enriching. I depend on them. I know what I get from this sort of the tank getting filled up again, being inspired again, digging deeply again. So I know what I get out of this. I've been doing this over 25 years. I know what I get from this collective coming together. But boy, you can do this, each one of you, moment to moment, in all these little spaces of your life. And this practice is just a gift, just a gift. Just sitting, letting yourself really arrive in the body. Just breathing. Such a lovely, sometimes it's like a crutch. That's okay. And just being. Yeah. So there's my encouragement, my ask of you, which is to take these practices and take them out into the world. Take them out moment to moment. They are right there for you. They're right there for the world. One of the things that I have loved about practicing with Lama Surya is that he is very encouraging for us to find our sources of strength and our voice. And so that voice may be the chanting that he does so amazingly. And I know you've heard some of the other senior teachers chant beautifully. I really love to chant in person. I'm not so excited about chanting in the Zoom land myself. But in person, I love it as kind of getting that warm up of embodying the space and opening. But if chanting's not our thing, and you're looking for something to set the intention, find your joy, find your spark. And I said this, I know, the last time I was here. So I'm going to say it again anyways. Find your voice. Find what moves you to deepen your practice. So what I thought I'd do, instead of chanting, as much as I love some of the chanting, so I'm going to ring the bell and I'm going to start us with a Mary Oliver poem. Because that's what came to mind today. I'm quite a fan of Mary Oliver, but you may have your own. I also love Rumi. Sometimes I pick up one of Lama Surya's books, read a little paragraph out of that. So good fun. So here's my confession. So I have my lovely little Tibetan bell, but because I used it recently somewhere else at a celebration of life ceremony, I can't find my striker. So because like Lama Surya, I have a sense of humor. So this is my striker at the moment. It is my pen. So if it sounds a little different, but you have to, I'm sharing this because it's about what's in the heart and not taking anything too seriously, and yet everything is incredibly precious and sacred and serious, and the two get held together. Yeah. So I had to share with you that I don't have the proper striker. Yeah. So here we go. So this is Invitation by Mary Oliver. Oh, do you have time to linger for just a little while out of your busy and very important day for the goldfinches that have gathered in a field of thistles, for a musical battle to see who can sing the highest note or the lowest, or the most expressive of mirth, or the most tender. Their strong, blunt beaks drink the air as they strive melodiously, not for your sake, and not for mine, and not for the sake of winning, but for sheer delight and gratitude. Believe us, they say, it is a serious thing. Just to be alive on this fresh morning in the broken world. I beg of you, do not walk by without pausing to attend to this rather ridiculous performance. It could mean something. It could mean everything. It could be what Rilke meant when he wrote, "You must change your life." So, invitation, if you need one, arriving in your body. I love to just wiggle my toes. Really letting my weight drop into the cushion. Finding my uprightness. Letting any tension, particularly in that mid back or upper back, soften, release, unwind. Checking in with my head to make sure it feels on top of the spine. Almost like for me, the ears floating back over the shoulders. invitation, in case you don't normally do it, to check in with the jaw. Nothing wrong with a little drool. It's nothing like this, just allowing ourselves to be held on our seat. Held by that earth element, nothing for us to do. Just sitting. And then as Lama Surya has really introduced me to, and I'm sure all of you, it's really the beauty of that breath, how we can use it at any point to help us arrive, really arrive. So if it's useful to you, take that nice inhale into the belly, maybe hold it for a moment or two. A nice long exhale, emptying out that stale energy, that stale chi. How exquisite it is at the end of that exhale. So just sitting in this body just as it is. And resting with the natural breath. And then just being, or not being. So oftentimes for me, just being fully embodied, connecting with breath, and the just being unfolds of its own. There are days when the mind is a little more preoccupied with the busyness of this or that. And one of the most helpful things that I have found is when Lama will say, just kind of flip the mirror. Who's watching the breath, anyways? Who's thinking these thoughts? Well, that's enough to kind of break up the discursive thought, kind of drop me into being. Many techniques. Eyes open, resting. With one of the most important instructions, which is don't work too hard and don't take yourself too seriously. I guess those are two instructions. Who's counting? No judgment. And as often as helpful, feel free to just wiggle the toes again. Make sure you're feeling fully embodied. Fingertips. Are you holding tension anywhere because you're actually trying too hard? Oh, please don't. Use that breath again if you need to. If it's useful, take those couple of deep breaths. Take that nice inhale, hold it for a moment or two. Let it go. Watch that out breath. Sometimes fall off the cliff of that out breath. And just be. Maybe something has arisen in your experience that you're finding a little difficult. Maybe you're a little sleepy, the mind is a bit busy, or your knees are aching, headache. Wrap that up in a bit of kindness. Conditions of the moment, just as it is. Just be with all of that, just as it is. Using that breath as needed, when needed. Inhale and exhale. So as we begin to kind of wind down the formal parts of the practice, I've brought another Mary Oliver poem. It's nice at the end of a more intensive practice to call it dedicate the merits or kind of bring the intention forward with a sense of gratitude and then well-wishing for all. And again, it can take many forms. And I really think it's a nice way to kind of transition what we're doing here, which is for ourselves and others, to the extent there is a me and a you. I love the humor in Dzogchen. So here's Mary Oliver's praying poem. It doesn't have to be the blue iris. It could be weeds in a vacant lot or a few small stones. Just pay attention. Then patch a few words together and don't try to make them elaborate. This isn't a contest, but the doorway into thanks and a silence in which another voice may speak. And then, Eddie, if you would be so kind, we'll do a little bit of chanting, maybe the dedication of virtue to complete realization. Gewadi nududak zokpa chenpo drukyone Drawa Chikyang Malupa Dei Sara Goparsho. Through this virtue, may we swiftly realize and fully embody the natural great perfection, and thereby bring all, without exception, to its complete realization. And the next one, the Bodhicitta dedication. Jangchub Sentro Rinpoche Make Panan Kegyorshik Kepa Nyampa Mepayang Gonne Gondu Pawar Shok. May the pure, brilliant sun of bodhicitta dawn in each and every heart and mind, dispelling the darkness of suffering and confusion, unstoppably until all are illumined and awakened. So, if I left a little time in case there are questions or sharings, frankly, it can just be a sharing. And while I give folks a moment, and whether you want to just raise your hand and you could be unmuted, because I personally can never type. I'm likely to log myself out accidentally if I try and type a message in the chat. So whatever works for you, if you're interested. If not, I'm always content to continue to talk. It's the nature of my training. Confession, now I'm a lawyer, among other things. And so when I've been trying to learn the Tibetan chanting, because I've spent years chanting in Pali and Sanskrit, and so the Tibetans knew, and someone who was helping me initially kind of noted that in my New Englandism, since I'm a New Hampshire girl, that occasionally that R at the end kind of disappears. So I try and make sure I hit those R's at the end of those various words. Yeah, and I guess there are a number of older folks on this Zoom, and I'll just say, if you think you can't learn something new, well, think again, think again, think again. Yeah.
So is there anyone who wants to give Suzanne some feedback or ask a question? You can do that now. We have a couple more minutes left, so.
I'll keep talking, and Menla, you let me know if anything comes in.
Okay.
So again, one of the things that I have found most useful is really just taking this off the cushion or your sitting chair and really moving these practices into all of the places of your day. And it's amazing, these simple moments of intentional couple of deep breaths, holding them for a moment in the belly if that feels healthy and safe for you to do so. When I have a migraine, it's not. I can take some deep breaths, but holding my breath is actually not helpful. There's the learning about what is good and healthy for you and the empowerment of that. So that for me is a real exercise throughout the day to help me be present in really a very diverse number of situations, and really to embody really that bodhicitta vow in practice.
I think these techniques that you mentioned, I think they go well with what Lama taught the last 2 Saturdays. I can teach anyone to meditate. I think that's important point, is to be able to find something that works for you and then just be consistent with it. So anyone have anything they want to say, add, comment?
I'll just pick up on something that Menla just said, which is that consistency of practice. I do make time, generally most mornings, absent some emergency or something, to sit. I like to start my day, well, after my cup of tea and my visit to my chickens, to sit and really nourish myself and stabilize sort of myself before I hit what is an interesting workplace. And I think there's so much value to that. And I really have to encourage folks to find, and maybe it's not the morning for you, maybe it's the evening, but having that time of at least I think at least a half an hour. I really like to have 45 minutes to set my intentions for the day. And that really, really helps me move through the day. And I can just tell you, I've spent a lot of time with a lot of diverse people in my years of really municipal government. It's what I do. And that, like I said, these practices are just so important to be out there in the world from my perspective. And each one of you have this ability in every communication and interaction you have with others to embody them and to really help bring that loving wisdom and compassion to all of those interactions, even the small ones at the grocery store or, picking up the grandkids, whatever that interaction is, or waiting in line at the voting booth, right? Just that presence, and maybe it's not even a word, but that presence of calm and compassion, and to some degree, fearlessness. Yeah.
Well, thank you for all that, Suzanne. Appreciate it. And thank you, Eddie, for doing the tech for us today. And thank you to all of you for joining us again. Remember that we have these upcoming events. You can go on the website to check them out more or register. And remember, we operate on donations, so we appreciate anything that you can give, and membership has its benefits. So if you decide to be a member, you can find all that out on the website. So have a good week, everyone. Thank you for being here, and hope to see you again soon. Take care.